Where the bleeding hell am I? What's this? Am I in some sort of like reality TV show or something?
You are live on channel 44,000. Please do not swear.
Oh my god, you've got to be f***ing me with this right now. Damn it. Wait, if I'm here, then where the bloody hell's Adam right now?
Let's play the weakest link. Start the clock. In the town traffic calendar, which month comes after who?
Where were you hiding that?
You really don't want to know.
General Kenobi! Welcome to the Review in Space. Today we're reviewing a very, very special episode. We are reviewing the Bad Wolf Parting of the Ways two-part finale from Series 1 of the Doctor Who Revived series in 2005.
That's
starring Christopher Eccleston and Billy Piper and John Barrowman and, of course, the Daleks. Brilliant episode.
Absolutely love it.
Cool, end of review.
Yeah.
What do we want to talk about first? The characters or the story?
Well,
what are you thinking?
So,
How do you feel like?
well, I mean, obviously this is Eccleston's last kind of run, his last little story before his regeneration. And for a last stretch of the imagination, I think Eccleston does brilliantly. I mean, he's always done fantastic of his episodes.
Fantastic.
Fantastic. I don't think really there's one episode where he's done terrible in.
No, he's a great actor.
Yeah,
in
he's
general.
very consistent. He does his role beautifully, and these last two episodes, they are no exception.
No, but in fact, I think this is some of the best acting I've seen from him. Like the Delta Wave bit, not to skip to the end too much, but him facing off against the Daleks one last time is a parallel, obviously, to the Time War, and it's just such beautiful acting on his part. Like most of this episode is absolutely flawless, and Eccleston, like, he is a really talented actor. He's one of the most talented actors to play the role, and if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have the show today, I don't think.
No, not really.
Wouldn't have kicked off as well as it did without him. But Billie Piper's performance also shouldn't be understated, I think. I think that in some parts, I think her acting was really good in this story as well. I feel like everything when she went back to Earth in here was like sublime acting on her part. And, I think what I liked most about this story when watching it with you was the fact that it really does tie the entire series one so neatly together in a package. Like it calls back to Father's Day with Rose's dad. It obviously calls back to the long game with Satellite 5. It calls back to Boomtown with the whole vortex in half of the TARDIS thing. Yeah. So there's so many different elements from series 1 that all come to a melting point in this story.
With, of course, the Bad Wolf phrase finally getting its roundup, which I think as a continuing thread through stories, like obviously series 2 you have Torchwood, series 3 it's Harold Saxon, series 4 it's Dr. Donner. With Bad Wolf, I feel like, I mean, obviously you get what it is at the end, but it's one of those things where it still takes you a minute to really understand what it is, because of course Rose, being this omnipotent being now with the ability to take those words and scatter them, it's kind of like breadcrumbs, but then the fact that she says I am the Bad Wolf, it kind of, it confuses you for a minute. Is she the Bad Wolf, or is the breadcrumbing effect of the Bad Wolf? Which is
maybe it's a bit of both. Maybe it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy of
kind of
sorts. Is kind of what it is. I think as well as this, when it comes to like characters, I think Captain Jack was pretty good in this story.
Definitely, yeah.
It's very interesting watching this episode and like feeling the dynamic that Captain Jack has with the Doctor here, because it's so different with Captain Jack with 9 versus
Captain Jack with
10 or Jodie, of course. Like it's different, and it does feel different. It's a different dynamic because 9 is always a standoffish Doctor, really. He always
Yeah.
has been, so he never really liked Adam, and that for a very good reason.
Didn't like
He also,
Mickey.
He didn't like Mickey, didn't like Jack, so the dynamic with Jack was very much just following orders, really. He said, like watching the doors when they got to floor 500, he was just saying yes sir to everything the Doctor said, because this doctor has such an authoritative nature to him.
Just coming off the back of the Time War, he's still kind of he's shrugging off the duty he had in that, but you know the anger, that kind of guilt,
It still is there. It's still present.
Yeah,
whenever
and
he
especially
talks to
after
people.
with his first encounter with the Daleks as well, that kind of frustration.
Yeah.
I guess he's kind of coming off the back of that, and then suddenly near the end of the first half, when he realises the fleet's still there, and also coming off the back of Rose, he thinks Rose has just been disintegrated in front of him.
Oh god,
like
that
grief as
moment!
well, yeah.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
Rose, Billie Piper definitely captured a lot of that fear and the confusion as well, and I love the fact that she's really enjoying herself on that show first.
Yeah, because
before
she
you
thinks it's just a regular
Yeah.
Weakest Link episode, and then
just a future game show
And
version. Yeah.
droid. So cool.
I love
Yeah.
I love the twist that they have with all these different shows where, you know, they have such innocent names, but then they're so grotesque when
Yeah.
you find out the finer details. I love that ideology with the, you know, just television. You got to keep up the entertainment factor.
Yeah.
And once everyone knows that TV's fake, how do you go further than that? And it's and the Doctor says it best. It's a charnel house.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and like the idea of like televising like people's demise for entertainment is not a new thing in fiction. It's been done to death. But the thing is with Doctor Who, they've always taken like a concept like that and had like an interesting spin on it. Instead of doing it like a Hunger Games thing, they've done it to where they've adapted existing television shows or previously existing television shows in some cases, aka Trini and Susanna or Weakest Link, and taking those shows and making them deadly. And it is such a very Doctor Who-y thing to do, and I love that they did do that. Like I say, you feel the age in this episode just for the fact that those shows exist in context of Doctor Who, and it's like shows like Trini Susanna and like I say, like they reference Wipeout, they reference Stars in Their Eyes. There are so many like shows that were part of British culture very integrally around that time that very much aren't now, and it's very clear like you feel the age, you feel the dust on this story in terms of writing. But it kind of gives it a certain charm in my opinion. Like you see like Weakest Link on there, and you see Big Brother. No, Big Brother is still technically still going. It's nowhere near as big as it was back in 2005.
Yeah.
But it's a cool take on those sort of like concepts and making it sort of life and death, really. And it's a cool sort of inciting incident to start the story off. Like, where the fuck are they? Who brought them there? What's the grand plan?
Although I think Jack got the better end of the stick at first. Just the fabricator does exactly what it says on the tin. Am I naked for the millions of viewers?
Absolutely.
Ladies, your viewing figures just went up.
That did not age very well in hindsight.
No, but it's still a funny
it's still
line.
funny. It is still funny.
Although I think that one was out of the three shows, because you kind of get it with the android at first, you know, shoots, and then Big Brother was a bit lazy with it, and so you're kind of thinking with the third one, okay, so how's the disintegrator being going to work into this one? And then as soon as they say face off,
and it's
goes,
just
so
razor
what
blades
the
and
hell?
shit. Yeah, going from just blasting people into atoms to then it's a bit lazy. Big Brother.
The manipulation of the body, you know, different head, no head, legs in your stomach.
You know what would have been a
back.
cooler way to do it with Big Brother is you leave the Big Brother house, which means you step out into space.
Oh God,
Imagine they did that.
that would have been frightening.
That would have been more frightening than just getting zapped and gone.
Yeah.
But then it wouldn't have made sense for the Doctor getting out afterwards. So.
Side characters as well. There were some pretty good standouts in this one as well. Linda with a Y, she was a good one-off character, a very sweet character, forgive the pun. But she's very, you know, she listens, she's not very complacent. You know, she's one of those characters that
She's
likes
one of
the
those
idea of
would-be
travelling.
companions.
Yeah.
Like if only kind of companions,
Yeah.
but didn't happen, sadly.
And then you have Odric, the guy from the Weakest Link, the one who actually wins the game. He's a good mini antagonist.
He is for Rose. Yeah.
He's got that mentality of the competition, and then he's sort of the thing that's keeping that story going because he's not just wanted to get rid of Rose right off the bat.
No.
He wanted to make that game easier for him.
Yeah.
It's a compelling trick to have for a character where they understand something like that and want to keep that sort of thing going.
Yeah.
So that's also a good one. Just the other kind of things like those two androids with Captain Jack and the android itself.
Yeah.
They're very compelling characters as well, very compelling ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's very fair. But one thing that would have been cool going into this episode, at least first time viewing, is that I wish they didn't spoil that the Daleks were in it.
Yeah.
Because neither of the episode titles are anything close to like the Of the Daleks type of titles or titled Dalek, like previous episodes. So they didn't really spoil it in that aspect, but if you remember in Boomtown, or at the end of Boomtown rather, the next time trailer, it literally just drops the fact that Daleks are in the next episode, which is a shame.
Yeah.
Because it would have been cool to kind of realise that Daleks are in the story for the first time in said story when you see the fleet. It would have been so much cooler to do that.
Although I kind of like the reveal with, Rose waking up in that ship and then the Daleks' eye stalk.
Yeah.
That's what, you're seeing it from the Daleks' perspective. I think that's really frightening.
It is.
That,
because everyone knows what that eye stalk visual looks like. So.
But then another kind of frightening visual as well, it's when Captain Jack is just about to be shot. And you've got those 3 Daleks in that dimly lit corridor. You got one of them saying exterminate, and they all kind of point their lasers at you. I think if you're a long time viewer of Doctor Who at that point, and you know what that sight means, you imagine being in that situation as well. It's like that's certain death
scary.
right there.
This is one of the scariest Dalek episodes. This is the most frightening the Daleks have been, I think, in a long time. I think that
Dalek did a good job with showing how devastating and how destructive one Dalek can be. But it's not quite frightening so much as it is just wow and whoa. Series
1 really did treat the Daleks well because, like I say, they show what one Dalek can do before showing us what an army can do. And what an army can do is wipe out an entire station. The only reason they won is because Rose just so happened to soak up the entire TARDIS.
Yeah.
No big deal or anything.
And it doesn't shy away from the carnage that the Daleks do, because not just on the station where they're taking out all the people doing the resistance and the people on floor 0 who are just not doing anything and they wipe them out.
Yeah, they didn't do nothing to them.
Simultaneously, you've got ships going down to the Earth and they're bombing the continent. So you can see it on the screen, they're kind of warping because of all the destruction that's happening there.
Yeah.
And it's showing you that these really are the biggest bads in Doctor Who. There is nothing these guys won't do.
No.
And it's one of the first instances, especially in New Who, where you can see how far they're willing to go. It's like they won't be this destructive again until the Stolen Earth, when they're literally going around the world.
Yeah.
I mean, they're quite.
And then after Stolen Earth, God knows when they were next that destructive. I don't think they've ever been that destructive since.
No,
to be honest.
No, because then it's Victory of the Daleks, and then, like you say, that's when the carnage of Dalek kill counts kind of dies down.
Yeah.
After those 2 soldiers in Victory of the Daleks, there's not a kill for another 6 years.
Yeah. Until the end of Capaldi's era, Daleks don't really kill many people.
No.
Barely any in Moffat's whole era, which is a shame.
Yeah.
Because Daleks need to be threatening, and they don't do that. They don't fucking kill people.
Yeah.
I think this story is genuinely one of the best Dalek stories. I really think it is so good. The Daleks are treated so well, and they're actually threatening. And
I like the idea that the Daleks have been taking those people off the planet to use them to make more armies.
Yeah,
and it kind of adds that added layer where in the games you think first it's the disintegrator beam, and then you have that small little moment of joy when you realize it's not a disintegrator, it's a transmat, and so you have that split moment when you realize, hang on a minute, they could still be alive, but then you realize no, they're just being transported to the Dalek ship.
Where they're getting harvested and turned into Daleks. Yeah. It's a horrifying thought.
But then even then, because you only realise it's the Dalek ship they're getting sent to in the first episode, so then you're kind of left with that idea that they're just being executed there anyway, so it's like it might as well be a disintegrator beam. Then you get to Parting of the Ways when you realise they are being turned into Daleks and sifted and skinned and decelled. And then that's kind of you wish it was a disintegrator beam.
Yeah, an easier way out, but no. Every human that got sent off of a game show got sent there and got turned into Daleks. It's a horrid thought. It's actually so fucking nasty to think about.
But again, another two one-off characters. The Collector, not the Collector, sorry, the what's she called? The one that's in the wires and everything.
The Controller?
Controller, that's the one. The design of the controller, that's eerie. It's plugged in. It's weird. It's meshy. It's wired up.
It's the sort of thing that a Dalek would do.
And the blue tinge as well, where she's kind of just seen like an android, like artificial intelligence and all that. She's whispering all these numbers and sequence. And then there's that fear in her eyes when she's talking, when the solar flare hits, and she finally is awake for the first time in ages, and she's just seeing everything, and she's talking to the Doctor. Just, but they speak of you, my masters. They fear the Doctor. I love that line. It's just that look in her eyes. She's not even blinking. It's just dead stare right at the Doctor. It's, ooh.
Yeah. No, exactly. And let's just talk about part one in isolation, because we see barely any Dalek action in part one, really, do we? We
kind of like figuring out where they are, what's happening, and then there's halfway into the episode we reveal that it's Satellite 5.
Yes.
And then the Doctor
realizes that he created
this new timeline.
Yes.
Just 100 years of hell, as Linda put it, because the Doctor thought, but this is meant to be the fourth great and bountiful human empire. Why is everyone stuck on their tellies? Why is there so many maelstroms downstairs on Earth? Yeah. And it's just how, like you said, he caused it, because taking down Satellite, taking down all the news, everything just froze. The economy, government, people, it all just collapsed. Yeah. And it's frightening to think that for once the Doctor hasn't saved people. In fact, he's made it worse. Yeah. And it's such a cool twist, to be honest. And it gives the Doctor extra weight, which is probably why he doesn't just up and leave, because I expect this incarnation of the Doctor would be more willing to do that than any other, because of the devastation he's seen before. He's like, I'll just leave this satellite and they'll figure it out themselves. History can take its course, as he says. Yeah. But he caused this. So he wouldn't, he knew that this would be his last ride in this incarnation, because he's like, well, there's Daleks something to deal with. I caused this. I have to fix this. Yeah. Madness. But it's cool to think that the Daleks have been pulling the strings behind the scenes for even longer than that, though. It shows how deep this plan goes, really. Yeah. And like I say, these Daleks, I just want to go back to the fact that the Daleks planned this whole thing. They planned the game station so that they could harvest humans in a way that would be so just behind the veil, unnoticed by anyone. And like I say, they take the humans for entertainment, so humans don't notice that they're actually getting taken and getting turned into Dalek. It's grim to think about how dark the plan is. And like I say, I can't express enough how evil the Daleks are in this episode. The amount of kills they get alone, on the station, let alone the amount of people they kill on Earth probably at the same time. Also because they were responsible for the Jagrafess. Yes. In Satellite 5. Yep. And it's, imagine how many people they had to kill to cover up that secret as well. The Daleks are responsible for that too. Yeah. So it's going on for much longer. Yeah. No, it is. Yeah, it's wild. It is so wild. And, what a great fucking story, man. Okay, so part one. We've talked about the sort of game show nature of it, and how when they get outside there's no guards, because the human race is so subdued that they wouldn't think to just escape. Yeah. Which is mad to think about, but and afterwards, obviously, we skip over Jack and the Doctor meeting up. They just kind of just appear, which is all right. You got to skip over the fluffy story stuff. I guess at this point they're so used to being split up and something happening on the other ends, and it's kind of in our case, where a reunion would be quite happy, they're just great, you're still alive. We're still looking for Rose. Yeah. That's the main imperative mission, isn't it? So yeah. I like the start of the nods though, with Jack flirting as well. Stop it. I'm just saying hello to you. That's flirting. Yeah, that's good. It's a shame what happens to Linda, because she's such a likable character, and then during the second half, the Doctor kind of shrugs her off at a certain point, which is a shame, really. That's how it kind of ends with them. Yeah. Because she was such a cool character at first, but I suppose the story was juggling a lot, and unlike future showrunners, RTD understood where to focus most of his attention to, and that's the swan song of the Ninth Doctor. Yeah. And also
the relationship between him and Rose, and also kind of Captain Jack, and also kind of the Daleks as well.
This isn't a criticism of Billie Piper because, you know, given the character she's playing, she does that well. But it was in, I think we might be jumping a bit ahead to the second episode here, but I kind of lost a bit of respect for Rose at a point where, because obviously she loves traveling with the Doctor, and it's probably at this point when she's starting to fall for him in a way.
Right.
Because when she gets sent home and all she's doing is really stropping around, she's saying there's nothing here for me anymore. She's kind of breaking hearts. Unreal.
Yes.
She's not realizing it because she just throws Mickey off saying there's nothing left for me here. Really? No. Just coldly
says that
saying
straight up to Mickey, like, poor Mickey.
And then she's also kind of drilling into her mum, saying, I met Dad and he would agree with me. I was there when he died. Imagine that for Jackie's perspective. That Jackie
like that bit. I like that scene a lot. The Mickey bit I agree with, but that bit, I think that's the turning point for Jackie, where she's like, holy shit, yeah, the Doctor is making a difference in her life. I need to support this.
Yeah. But even still, from a character's perspective, Jackie didn't even know who the person was that her husband had said goodbye to. And then Rose kind of uses that as a low blow.
Right.
I mean, yes, it's powerful, but damn, that's gotta hurt.
It is a great moment, in my opinion, though, because it does pay off Father's Day. And I love that one. I love that moment. It actually was quite emotional to see, because it is just so heartbreaking, because they both care so much about Rose's dad, and obviously it's an integral, you know, part in their relationship, Rose and Jackie.
Yeah.
But yeah, part one kind of goes on, and with Rose seemingly getting vaporized. Amazing moment, actually played out perfectly.
The look on the Doctor's face, that somber realization
that he failed her.
Yeah,
that's such. It's so good on every account.
And then Jack's reaction as well. He's got that gun in the people's face, and you killed her.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really good. After that, they go to floor 500 and they figure out it's the Daleks. Now, one of my favourite scenes in all of Doctor Who is at this stage in the story, where he realises that the Daleks have Rose and they're threatening her and they're saying, you'll comply or we'll kill her, all right? And the Doctor's like, no, you won't. Yeah, and he's like, I said no. He's like, what's the meaning of this? It means no. It means no.
But she will be destroyed.
And then he goes, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to rescue her. I'm going to save her from your fleet. I'm going to save the Earth. And then I'm going to fucking kill the lot of you, is basically what he says.
And he goes, nothing. No plan, no strategy.
Yeah, and doesn't that fucking scare you to death? It's such a good moment. One of my favourite moments in all of Doctor Who. It's a perfect cliffhanger.
Yeah.
One of the best cliffhangers of all time. I love it to bits, and it is so good. And like the zoom out before it cuts to the credits, when you see all of the Daleks surrounding Rose, so good. It's so good. It's such a good end note for the first part of this.
Then we start off part two. We think that the Doctor's just been shot down by these rockets, but they're using the extrapolator from the boom tower.
Which, like I say, links in to other episodes in series one, which is great.
Then when he's rescuing Rose, the Daleks is kind of phased into the TARDIS as well, and you get to look at this mutant inside of it, because Jack's just blasted it with a gun. And then they kind of have this moment where they come back outside. He's taunting them all with the oncoming storm, and then we get introduced to probably one of my favourite Dalek characters.
Yes,
the Emperor,
the God of all Daleks, is one of the coolest Daleks, and the entire conversation with him. Like, there's no dead filler time in this two-parter. You think that a moment like this would be a boring thing? Where you're like, all right, I'm going to go make another cup of tea while they talk. No, this is actually quite an intense scene, because they talk about the Time War. And this is at a time, for a classic fan, it's important because you want to pay attention and get more intel as to what the fuck the Time War is, because you've heard little snippets. That's all you've heard. And the New Who fan just wants to be able to know what the fuck is going on in general and understand what these Daleks are doing. So from both perspectives, your ears are wide open listening to everything the Doctor is saying to the Daleks and vice versa, and talking about how the horrific fate of all of those humans that got transported to Satellite 5 have now been turned into Daleks. Great reveal. Also,
the madness of the Daleks, the insanity that's coming,
and the fact they're part human, and it goes, and the fact the Daleks go, don't blaspheme, and the Daleks like, since when have the Daleks been able to blaspheme or whatever, and
I reached into the dirt and made a new life. Worship him, the god of all Daleks.
It's so cool. It is.
I think what makes the Emperor stand... I think what made him do this scene so well is that, I mean, it's not full on, but he's the closest to a Dalek who has the concept of emotion and emotive language.
Because he's a survivor of the Time War, and
he's not just simply saying, we are here to take over. He's saying how he's waited, he's sculpted, he's made, he's created, he's passionate about this stuff. He is setting himself up higher than anything right now. And he's got a full drive. He's got intent for this. He's not just solely a survivor like Davros made them to be. No. He's got his own empire here, and he's excited about that. Yeah. You can hear it in the way he's talking about it. He's got attitude. He's got inflection, and it's the way that you hear it compared to all the other Daleks. They're not just barking orders. This guy is law. He's God.
He is.
And so the way that he's delivering it all, it's powerful in the voice in of itself.
The entire scene is powerful for that reason, because there's so much weight behind everything that's being said. And it is just so sick. And like I say, the fact they're part human, and it's like that makes them more dangerous because they hate their own existence and all that. There's so many great lines of dialogue that are so quotable, like that you hate your own existence. There's just so many good moments in this story that are just so... It's such a potent dose of Doctor Who. Daleks, Rose, there's regeneration, there's just so little moments in there, just oh my god, it's packed to the brim with amazing acting moments and just writing pieces. It's just so good. It's just so good.
Another one of my favourite moments, you brought this up near the start, about the Delta Wave, where because obviously the Doctor and Jack
give him a medal.
Yeah, because they acknowledge that the Daleks will...
Delta Wave. Sorry, I love Eccleston. He's so fucking good as the Doctor.
Yeah, because they also they talk about what the Delta Wave is, the Cas9 energy, and then Jack has a throwaway line. He says the Daleks will work it out whilst they're invading. So then you kind of realise, okay, the Daleks are going to figure this out, and of course they do. They're Daleks, but it's the fact that the Emperor is tuning in after Jack has asked, is going to be ready. One of my favourite lines that he says is, "There is every possibility the Delta Wave can be finished, but no possibility of refining it." Because even though you're a first time watcher and a kid may not pick that up immediately until Jack's following line, but once you if you're old enough to understand what that means, it's like what that satellite's for, and there's no escaping it.
It is so cool to see that, and the fact that at the end is like, what are you, coward or killer? And the Doctor goes, coward any day. That is the Doctor in a nutshell. So good. And the rest of that episode is just high octane popcorn action, but with moments of just character pieces and heartbreak. It's just chocker stacked. It's just so,
because it's one kind of heartbreak at a time. It starts off with the first few people with the soldiers, and they say, "It doesn't work, you lied to us." Then they get wasted. Then you have the android kind of getting blasted. That's like your Top Gun getting destroyed in one go. And then you have...
Even though they didn't use every single... How many android...
Oh god,
how many android robots did they have? 20 floors of weakest link? No. And they only used one of them. That's a bit of a waste. But,
Then you have the massacre on floor 0.
Mind you, that wouldn't have worked though, because we realised that blah 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 zappy thing that Android had just teleported them back to the Dalek ship.
Oh yeah.
So it wouldn't have killed any of them.
No, true.
Yeah. Managed to fix that plot hole there.
Yep.
Anyway.
But then you have the Floor 0 massacre.
Yes.
Then you've got the last stand with Jack and the rest of them. Then it moves on to Linda. Sadly, they find her. And I think I mentioned this when we were watching the episode. It's that resourcefulness of the Daleks where,
Daleks
one of them
are
has
never this fucking resourceful. Anything else. Then they have this one Dalek with the fire thing that cuts through the door.
Yeah, that freaky little thing. And you think, okay, they're going to get through that, but it's still going to take time. She has time. And then she's just looking over her shoulder, and there's 4 of them floating outside. And I think it's scary as well that, you see the Dalek flashing. He's saying, exterminate, you can't hear it. And it cuts outside.
Yeah.
God, man, that is a nightmare.
It is absolutely. And it's just so great. And like I say, the Daleks are the scariest they've been in a long time in this story. I can't think of many Dalek stories where they've been as deadly and as menacing as this. And all those little moments like cutting down the door or just literally wiping out the entire floor zero for no other reason other than it'll be fun.
Yeah.
You know, that's they just want to kill people because they're on floor zero. Why not?
Yeah.
Well, we're here. May as well kill them all. Cool.
Yeah.
Works for me.
My last kind of point with a Dalek, though, and this is coming from a design aspect, because you understand that all these other Daleks, except for the Emperor, are mutated. So the Emperor is the only pure Kal-Ed mutant.
True.
And I love his design. He's large, he's, bulky, and then there are all these close-ups of just him and that eye pulsating as he's talking.
Yeah.
And it's got that black background as well. It's just solely him on the screen. That, to me, is weird, and it sends a shiver, because that's just beautiful. It's just that abyss, and he's there. He's waiting. He's in control. It's his world. It's his paradigm, as it were. And so when the Doctor's having these close-ups, when he's talking about how did you create the Bad Wolf, and then he just says, they are not part of my design.
Yeah, and then you realise Bad Wolf is something else. And obviously the reveal of Rose coming back and saving the day. A cool payoff, bit of a Deus Ex Machina, but at the end of the day, you kind of need that. When the Daleks are this threatening, you kind of need something like that to kind of clean the chessboard, if you know what I mean. So I don't really mind it, and also it is a payoff after a series-long arc. So in that respect, I'll let them off for having such a Deus Ex Machina moment at the end, because the Daleks are that threatening. I'll give RTD that.
But then they do something a bit extra with that, don't they? Which is kind of like an Easter egg, where not just is Rose killing everything, but I give life.
Yeah.
And Jack gets resurrected next door.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's... you can expect the Deus Ex Machina, but you don't really expect that to happen.
And it comes back, which is nice. If it was just a moment just for the hell of it, then it would have been, what's the point of it? But no, they bring Jack back later because they can. And because he's alive. And it's good to do that.
Yeah.
And they actually even expand on it, because it wasn't clear at the time when they brought him back that he'd just be immortal forever.
Yeah.
They just thought, he just gets a second chance. But no, he's now permanently.
And then later on in Utopia, he's talking about how Jack didn't realise straight away what happened. He had to go through a series of events to have that realisation.
Yeah.
But then of course, at the end of Parting of the Ways, a swan song must end. And for a last scene before the actual regeneration, I think this is one of the more profound moments.
It is a fitting goodbye for him, because he's jolly, but he's also very
scared.
He's also just very heavy in his sort of like gravitas. Is just very, his presence has always been very strong in any scene that he's been in. So this one is a fitting end, because he goes from jolly to scared, and then to angry for a second, and then just cautious.
But then he's also relieved as well, where he's kind of having that reflection that he's proud to have met Rose, and then he's also proud of himself. Just that last line, just, you know what?
So was I. Yeah, it's such a great moment.
And the music also helps with that scene as well. That kind of uplifting swell just before the lights.
Yeah.
And it's just, you can't help but smile with him as well just before. And also because, like you say, with classic fans coming in to watch, this is the first instance of the new standard orange glow for the regeneration.
True. Because the thing is that going into the scene when you see him start to talk about, I might have two heads or no head, the classic fans will pick up very quickly. Oh, he's talking about regeneration. Oh, he's regenerating. Oh, we're having our first New Who regeneration already. Holy shit. All right, here we go. Classic fans going into this are already aware of what's coming up, whereas New Who fans, they're just like, holy shit, is he dying? What's happening? Yeah, it's just... but both sides of it works, because it is such a gentle way to ease people into the concept of regeneration, whether you know how it's been done before or not.
You're kind of walking into it as a fan the same way that Rose is.
Yes.
Because the Doctor isn't making a big deal about it. He's not crying. He's not happy. He's not shouting about it. He's talking about, he's normalising it almost to say it's only change, and though I'm not going to see you like this, I'm going to be fine in the end.
I'm going to see you eventually.
Yeah.
Not just a second. Achoo! Sneezes.
Yeah. And even then you can have a crack about a joke. I'm not going to see you again. Not like this.
With his daft old face. Yeah.
So yeah, it's sweet, it's bittersweet, but it's wholesome as well.
It is wholesome. It's such a wholesome way to close out.
And for the Doctor who had just come off the heels of the Time War, being wholesome, I think, is something that maybe this incarnation didn't expect him to be.
No.
That peacefulness.
Yeah, definitely. I do agree with that very much. Yeah, it's a great send off for this Doctor, and it's a shame. Like the kill count in this episode is so fucking high, which is ridiculous. Literally every single character gets murdered except for Jack, or Jack even gets murdered.
Yeah, but he gets resurrected. So
the only person that technically survives is Rose.
Yeah,
Ninth Doctor doesn't even fucking survive, which is the stakes are high in this, and it's so cool. Like I say, to have the Daleks be menacing, but also have them overcome it, and the resolution to Bad Wolf, kind of.
Yeah.
And
with the one exception of a very cheesy line.
Oh yeah, come here, Rose. I'm coming to get you. I think you need a doctor, and then the snog. It's a bit cringe, but at the end of the day, it's all right.
Yeah.
We'll let him have this. It's always.
I mentioned this when we were watching it as well. It's like, the Doctor could have just done like what the 10th Doctor did: 2 hands, close eyes, and then you see something happening, all that. But then it feels void of anything. Whereas a kiss, yes, it's cheesy, yes, it's cringe, but it's intimate as well, and it's it's that sense of everything's going to be all right. You're going to be fine.
Sure.
Yeah,
I suppose that's true. Yeah.
Still hammy, but
it's hammy. But yeah, at the end of the day, this is 2005. There were no pre-expectations as to what Doctor Who would be perceived as afterwards. But yeah, that's about it. I'm done. This is a 10 out of 10 episode.
Absolutely agree.
I fucking love it. It's one of the best Dalek stories, and it's one of Eccleston's best stories. It's one of the best episodes of New Who.
Definitely.
It's probably in my top 10 Doctor Who stories ever,
really?
to be honest. It's top 20, definitely.
Oh, absolutely.
Top 10, potentially.
I'll have to review my top 10, actually, to see if it is.
Me too. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you think of this episode. And yeah, we'll see you later. Goodbye. Crazy.
Ooh.
New teeth.
Hello.
New teeth. That's weird. I know these teeth. Anyway.
What?
Bye, everyone. What?
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 What? What?